Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending today's presentation, part of our compelling Spring 2025 lecture series and event. And I want to say thank you to the lecture series committee. Thank you very much. We have the distinct pleasure to have with us Benedetta Tagliabue, an internationally renowned architect with visionary and poetic contributions that have significantly influenced contemporary architecture. She's the co-founder of Miralles Tagliabue, EMBT, an esteemed architectural firm established in Barcelona in 1994 with her husband and partner, Enric Miralles, later renamed Benedetta Tagliabue EMBT Architects. After the premature death of Enric in 2000, Benedetta continued leading their office as a principal and sole partner, finishing over 10 uncompleted works of Enric at that time, and starting many new ones, and there is really a long and significant list of exceptional projects. EMBT currently operates offices in Barcelona, Shanghai, and Paris, with exceptional works and commissions all over the world, incorporating architecture, landscape planning, interior, and industrial design. In addition to her outstanding architectural practice, Benedetta established the Fundación Enric Miralles in 2011 to foster experimental architecture and honor Enric Miralles' legacy. The foundation serves as a hub for exhibitions, workshops, and academic collaborations. As an architect and educator, I admire personally Benedetta's ability to integrate innovative design with deep respect for the project's context, history, culture, and environments. Her groundbreaking projects have been widely recognized and include the Scottish Parliament building in Edinburgh, widely admired for its dynamic design, and the renovation of the Santa Caterina Market in Barcelona, noted for its vibrant integration into the urban fabric. The headquarters of Gas Natural Fenosa and the Diagonal Mar Park, also in Barcelona, the Spanish Pavilion for the World Expo Shanghai in 2010, winner of the prestigious RIBA Best International Building 2011 award. Another project that I would like to mention is the Càlida Sant Pau Center in Barcelona, part of the Magis Center International Network. In 2021, she inaugurated the church and parish complex San Giacomo Apostolo in Ferrara, in Italy, awarded with the Dedalo Minosse International Prize. Among other and many others, she leads a wide range of ongoing projects worldwide. Centro Direzionale di Napoli, the Fudan University in Shanghai, and Century Square also in Shanghai, just to mention a few. Her projects received more than 100 international awards and citation for design excellence, including, and forgive me if I am long, but I really want to list all the awards because it's impressive, the list. And I promise Benedetta I'm going to do that. I'm sorry for you, but you have to listen to this. She didn't want me to mention any of those. The Catalan National Prize, the RIBA Sterling Prize, the National Spanish Prize, the City of Barcelona Prize, FAD prizes, multiple years, WAF prizes, multiple years, EU Miss Award nomination, the Piranesi Prix de Rome Award, the Plan Award, the Chicago Athenaeum Award, the Riba Jenks Award, the San Jordi Cross awarded by the Generalitat de Catalunya for the excellence of her professional architectural practice worldwide. In 2021, at the Smart City Expo World Congress in Barcelona, she received the Leadership Award for contributing to globally disseminating sustainable and humane city models. Remarkably, in 2022, Benedetta received a nomination by Pope Francis for her professional merits as the new member of the Order of the Virtuosi Academy at the Pantheon in Rome, which aims to encourage and increase the research and practice of the humanities, visual arts, music, and architecture. Furthermore, in 2022, she was awarded the Architectural Medal Prix Les Suffragettes, granted by l'Académie d'Architecture de Paris. The 2023 Global Award for Sustainable Architecture, prized by Cité de l'Architecture and du Patrimoine de Paris. The Art Decor Award and the Plant Award, both for sustainable projects. Recently, Benedetta was recognized with the Encomienda de la Orden de Isabella Católica, one of the Spain's highest honors by the Spanish Minister of Foreign Affairs, José Manuel Alvarez, for her contributions to Spanish architecture, for the heritage of Spain, for her role bridging Hispanic-Italian friendship, and her promotion of artistic and cultural ties between the two countries. Benedetta participates as a juror in the most esteemed international awards, such as the Pritzker Architecture Prize. And I'm sure you heard about it. It's like the Oscar for architects. She's in the jury. And you don't call somebody if it's not significant, the work that you do, to be part of that jury. She's also receiving the Princesa de Asturias de las Artes committee is part of that award too, the Lowe Craft Prize, the Reba Jenks Awards, and the Reba Stirling Prize, part of those juries as well. As a fellow educator, I appreciate her commitment to teaching at international schools and universities, including her role as a visiting professor at Harvard, Columbia, Yale, and actually today she's here from Yale, and the Escola Tecnica Superior de Arquitectura de Barcelona. Benedetta graduated in architecture from the Istituto Universitario di Architettura di Venezia, a prestigious institution that I'm also proudly share as my alma mater, and received also an honorary doctorate from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Edinburgh Napier University in Scotland. Please join me in warmly welcoming Benedetta. Too much. No, all deserved. You did it.
So
I didn't invite you.
But incredible. Thank you. Thank you for this incredible presentation. Very, very nicely explained and done. It was impressive for me. So luckily we're going back to home now. Because I think in a sense that all this prizes and juries and things are part of our profession. We've always considered this kind of activities, no? We had to do with Eric. Eric was my late husband and partner. He was very hyperactive, fantastic person. And I think what we did together was our home, first of all. We did our home as our life, but also we discovered this old house in the old part of Barcelona, which really, I remember my brother coming from the Italian family and look at this and saying, Benedetta, please don't come and live here. It was a ruin. It was destroyed. But we liked so much this destroyed place because exactly it was giving us the possibility to experiment and also to have a conversation with the history as a firsthand. No, we were touching all the walls, all the windows and doors, and we drew this drawing. But I tell you, I drew that at the end of the work when we already took a lot of decisions, which were mainly to respect the place as we have found it, and to take out this spirit of a kind of a place which was a palace maybe in the past, maybe a home, and then it was used in lower moments in Barcelona economy as a kind of a storage. And then we realized it's so beautiful. It's like having a loft in Barcelona. No, nobody had a loft in Barcelona, and we had a life also in New York. So it was fantastic to keep it as an open space where you can imagine that you can do a life which is sort of ancient. You know, when you say something like prepare the table, it's in fact not a table which is there. In the past, there was, you were bringing a piece of wood, which was a table, and you were putting up on legs, and then afterwards you could take the table away, and the space would be a different space, maybe a dormitory or maybe a place to read. And we wanted a house like that. No, this open house let us these possibilities, and all the furniture we put here, you will see a little later in the lecture, are moving furniture in order to make a house which is like that, no? A house which can transform, can adapt, can relate with this Gothic arches that we were finding in the place, kind of unexpected, and have a life together with the many lives that were happening in this house before us. So also history is giving you a sort of humble feeling. You know how many other people have been going through and living through these walls, and have studied, read, made their life in the same spaces. So we were understanding. We are just one of the generations, and we were learning everything about what we later did with existing history in architecture in this house. And actually, this was our private project. We were doing it with no stress because we promised ourselves never to publish it. But then we didn't maintain the promise because a friend started to say, "Oh, can we publish in this magazine?" Okay, because you're a friend. Another friend was coming and say, "Can we do a little book?" Okay. And at the end, we published this house more than any other project in the studio. And recently, it was also I don't know if it works, filmed by yes, it works, by Apple TV. My dog, very important.
Spaces in the inside. Found a home where old memories are preserved and beautiful new stories are created.
So to film the house, they have to destroy it. They practically dismantle the house to make it look natural. But okay, it was a very good experience. My children insulted me and say, "What are you giving our home to Apple TV?" But at the end, I don't know. It's something that we can accept. I think it's also nice. It's a question. And I think this home brought us something which was very near our heart. It was a market which was very nearby. And we had the unexpected possibility to remodel this market. When we were living there, and Eric was telling me, "Oh, here I was coming with my grandmother," the market was like that, you know, very, very abandoned in a neighborhood in the old Barcelona, which was very abandoned. That's why we could buy the house. And we really had a fantastic translation from what we have done in the house, in the home, towards how we would act by redesigning this market in the neighborhood. And in fact, we had only to redesign not only the market, but also the neighborhood. And we started because the plan was, it's so old that the city wanted to destroy it completely. But we said, well, actually, this is our history. It's not so easy to destroy it completely. And we started to make a plan together with the city, discussing every piece and saying maybe we can open things, but maintain some of the old alignment, put the new building leaning on top of the old ones. And so the market, the new market, and also the neighborhood started to be something which was living together. The market had to attract people in a place where people was not going anymore. And the neighborhood was to make people enter, give them the possibility to use it, to make it permeable, which was not like that. This was, I think, a beautiful story for us. I love the project of the Market Santa Caterina. It was a project where we learned a lot of also to deal with history by doing very little or by deciding things which were not totally drawn, no? And sometimes when I see in Yale, for example, some students which come there with a lot of doubts and a roof which is done by hand and not very clear. I remember this moment in Santa Caterina. No, we wanted something that was not very clear. And little by little, it started to become more determined. We wanted a roof which would bring the activity from the street inside the market. We wanted something which would be attractive for everybody, which would include the artisans of Barcelona, which are fantastic and were still acting in this moment. Sometime soon they will disappear. And this little by little became reality from this kind of indetermination. And now is a place which people around recognize. This accepting colors, it was the idea that when you go to the market, you have this fantastic, colorful world. And we wanted to cast the colors and this happiness into the city and to give it for the city. So from that moment on, we had many projects. Maria was telling you about projects that unluckily I had to finish when Eric, he had started with me, but then he couldn't finish most of them. One is in Utrecht, in Holland, and it's a very special project, which will be long to explain. I just to show you very little. No, it's about making more homey a city hall and a place which wanted to be just, the kind of stiff and important. No, we put this very little door so you could enter in it in a more humble way. Or we designed the Scottish Parliament, which also was an attempt to make an official building be more integrated with the landscape, be more humble in contact with the city, with the street, with the people, and also had a geometry which was kind of changing, like boats in a harbor, which always adapted to the different tides and to the different movement of the water. So we wanted this building to be a little like that, no? The antithesis of an official building, of something stiff, which is imposing itself. So we had these geometries that we were proposing also between the old house which we maintained and the garden. There is this space which is like a patio, and it's an interior, but it's really with light being all the time in front of you, and the inside of the main chamber like the inside of a boat, because also we thought that wood was very important. It's a very important material for everybody, but for Scotland in particular. And also we wanted this to be like a boat, so that you have a parliament which is resembling a boat, where it's a place with no real land, is a place where you can really take decisions with no impositive reasons. This was opened after many years, some years. It was from 2004. It was started in 98 to 2004, but it was very complicated. We had a lot of political histories, but at the end, the Queen of England at the time arrived, opened it, and now 20 years after, each year they're calling me to celebrate the Scottish Parliament in the occasion of the festival in Edinburgh. So this is a public space now. You know, the first competition we won when Eric died, and we were on the verge of saying, will we close? Will someone believe in us anymore or not? We won a competition in Hamburg, and this was fantastic. I still am very grateful to the people who believed in us. And they, you know, Hamburg is a fantastic harbor, a big one. But it was this one only in the past. So now this is moved by 2 or 3 men or 2 or 3 people and a lot of machines. And here there was in the past a lot of movement, a lot of people. But of course, now it's much better to make this belonging to the city. So they invented in Hamburg to make here a city called Hafen City, the city of the harbor. And we were called to design the public spaces. So we were proposing them to do public spaces which were a little on the sea, a little breaking the lines and arriving near the water, which is a sea and river, and very soft in the middle of more rigid buildings, which were designed by other people. So now this is Hafen City, which was, this is the Elbphilharmonie by Herzog de Meuron. And Hafen City was a desire like that, to make a public space which would look a little bit like the moment where you had here boats and you had boats moving on the water. So I think it's I have something like 500 slides, so we have to go very fast. But I like very much, because you are very fast. Of course, all of you go on the phone and you see, I don't know how many images every time. So we pass many images, and this is Hafen City, and you understand how this very long project is trying to make German people using their old harbor in a familiar way, in a relaxed way, so that you can have benches, you can go with bicycle, you have colors, you have decoration, you also have entertainment, and this is the place where during the war, the Allies, which were mainly Americans, were sending the bombs in harbor. And these were still 2 bombs destruction. So we transformed the bomb destruction into a park, which is now like 2 eyes crying with this crying willows and full of symbols, but mainly the desire for people to come here and have a place where they can contemplate, they can make sports, they can enjoy, they can be together. So this was very important. And after that, they were calling us, and these projects are very long projects. When you make a public space, you need a lot of time. So we were called in Rimini, which is a very mass place for going to the beach. And Rimini, you see, there was this, between the beach and the city, there was this loading and unloading street, and we had to make something which now is very important. You will discover by doing the school and then the profession, renaturalizing. It's more than regenerating, and is kind of bringing back nature where there was a piece of city, where there was a street, where there was kind of an infrastructure which was impeding the passage from the beach towards the city. So this very long stripes that we are designing now, and which is under construction right now, is in a way very long, but in order to make a connection between the beach and the city of Rimini. And in the same time, it gives the possibility for pedestrians to walk, for bikers to go biking, for sports people to make sport, children to go playing. And you have this relation with the beach, which is becoming, again, a kind of a natural place, not this occupied place, which usually is in Rimini. So we designed a lot of details. It's 8 kilometers more or less is the same concept, but every kilometers have colors, have thematic. We use the ceramic, which is very well built in Italy, to make all these themes arriving in the different part of the Rimini lungomare, in order for people to recognize it, to know where are we, what is this part. So now we go in public spaces, but now we are going to China. And we were very happy and very lucky to win a competition in 2010. Actually, the competition was before, in 2007. I loved China because I went to China when I was 18. And it was still a very communist China, with people with uniform and bicycles and no cars. And now China is very different. But I loved it at that time when I was 18. And so when the competition was open to make the Spain pavilion for the Shanghai exhibition, it was for me an occasion to go back to China. And the proposal was to give the pavilion a language which is universal, which is the language of hands, which is the same in Spain and in China, and everywhere in the world, actually, because this weaving capacities is something that is everywhere. So we try to have a kind of a common language here. And we made a project which is quite complex, and now I will not explain in detail, but we wanted this project to be kind of rural, kind of bringing back to city this idea of the countryside, because the lemma was better cities, better lives. And you know how Chinese cities are growing with this high rises, and at the time there was not even very much this consciousness, which now is very strong in China, about being very sustainable and sponge city implementation and all these things. But in that time we were saying better cities also to make the countryside become nearer to the city. So this was a kind of utopia that we were wishing to explain with this Spain pavilion in the Expo Shanghai. And I have to say, I have wonderful reminds of this pavilion, which was a kind of desprending a kind of a perfume of natural materials, and also was making this lights entering as if you were in a wood inside the building. And it was successful, I have to say. It was very, very nice. And that's why we could open a small office in China and started new projects that were, to me, always kind of adventure. But of course, after the expo, they tried to maintain the pavilion, and at the end, they had to destroy it. And this is the last trip we did with our studio in the place in Shanghai. Now, instead of the building, you have a lake or a park. But I think the building left something. For example, the lake and the park have all big curves that maybe were inspired by this pavilion, which was destroyed. Then we are doing more things in China. I show you very fast. We won a competition for a university, Fudan University, and this is going to be open very soon. It's a business management. So we designed this roofs, which were uniting the 3 blocks of the business management university. And because we couldn't be on top of the construction, because this is very difficult there, at the end they wanted this to look like gold. So it's maybe a good omen for the people studying business management here. But I suppose and I hope that it will be, little by little, it will lose this shining appearance, and it will become more a kind of an indication of the fact that this building has a big public space in the inside, has a bridge which goes through and gives possibility for the public to use most of it. It's not a closed campus. It's an open offering where normal people will find sports places, will find theaters, and they will find shops, and they will find a university which is also offering things to the city itself. And in the same Shanghai also, we are finishing right now, this is Nanjing Road, and this was a plaza called the Century Square, and we won a competition during the pandemic, which is very strange, saying that this new piazza, which was, let's say, a sort of Times Square of Shanghai, we wanted it to get inspiration from the sea creatures, and remembering that also in the center of Shanghai, you can have a natural place. So we tried to make this piazza, which had to receive exhibitions and things like that, cutting the traffic. So when you're here, you can forget about the traffic. And we made a special pavimentation resembling this pavimentation that we designed for Santa Caterina in order to give a sort of feeling of the sky or the sea in the center of Shanghai. And also all the grades, which of course are very important for the shows and all the representation which will happen here, are covered with green hills and trees, so that really there is a possibility here to have in the right middle of Nanjing Road, where you have on this red carpet, you have 1 million people passing by every day. You have the possibility to have a renaturalized place, which this was some time ago, and now is really giving a kind of a different color and different feeling in the center of Shanghai. So now we are talking. I don't know how much time. I forgot the. So I'm finished. Because I have already used 40 minutes. So I will be very fast. In Paris, we won a competition which was to make one of the subway stations for the periphery. It's the biggest operation in infrastructure, in subway infrastructure, which is touching places like this one, where there was a kind of a dream of an utopia for a beautiful way of living together with nature in the outside of Paris. And this never worked. This became ghettos, became a very hated place. There is a film called La Haine, the hate film here. And really, this is exemplifying what happened in these places. No, these places which were disconnected from the rest of the city, also disconnected among themselves, became places that the people who were living here hated. But also some artists like Géard, who is a fantastic artist, was born here, and he was really doing these art pieces in order to bring the face of the forgotten people in a very big scale, so visible to everybody. So this was the place where we made the competition. We wanted a little of Géard, a little of the face of everybody being part of our station. So we were kind of imitating and looking at what was happening actually in the place. And we loved it, no? These colorful markets, these incredible dresses that the people wears here. So we were doing a canopy instead of doing a building, so that the subway station is a place where you go down, a place where you can find a piazza. And inside you find a kind of another piazza, another inner piazza where the light is illuminating everything, and where people can move, looking at themselves and kind of finding a social place in the moment where they are traveling. So here we were experimenting it a lot. No, it was a moment where in France they were wishing to make these stations with new materials and new possibilities. So there was a lot of experimentation, which we also brought to the Biennale, which is a fantastic place to make things that you've never done before. And also we tried to work together with the people there, no? Because we were saying we wanted to imitate what's actually there. But we had the opportunity to work with a group of women who just arrived in Clichy-Montfermeil, and we asked them to prepare materials that they liked, their dresses, their favorite textile. And then we made photocopies and we asked them to cut the photocopies so that we could make a collage all together. We enjoyed it. It was a very fast exercise, something like a couple of hours. Then we told them how to do it and how to put the glue. And then at the end, they look at us and said, what do we work to do these stupid things? What have we done? But actually, these stupid things are very useful for us because they are giving us the colors, the patterns, the way to design the colorful inside of this subway station, and also the pergola that is going to happen. At the beginning, we wanted something textile to happen here. Then at the end, it was impossible because France is a very difficult place to invent new things, and they came back from this first idea. So here are some of the tries we are now trying to apply in the inside of this descending to the inner piazza. And Géard is here doing one of his first murals in ceramic, because usually he does everything in paper, so everything gets destroyed. So that now we had Mireille, the excavator, arriving here, and soon this gray cement construction will bring all the colors of the neighborhood in the subway station. So we hope. And in Naples, we also made a subway station, which started more than 20 years ago. Actually, it was open today without telling us. So I was very angry this morning. I phoned everybody, and the people of the station, they told me, you know, we also didn't know that the city wanted to open it. So okay, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. You never know. Naples is a fantastic city where you can never trust what they are telling you. But at least they could build an incredible station in a place which is very, very complicated, because it's a place designed by Kenzo Tange in the 70s, with these ideas of organization, Japanese organization, and this never worked. So in a way, we wanted a kind of a magmatic figure breaking this different organized levels and bringing people into a more natural environment in a lower level, where you have a kind of a lower piazza but open in the beautiful Naples climate. And so little by little, the station started to be finished. As you know, I didn't know that they were going to open it, because it's not finished under my point of view. But this happens a lot with public spaces, and more or less the feeling of the station is that, no, you're entering a kind of a covered piazza, and from the covered piazza you can go down to the trains. And in the meanwhile, you have this kind of feeling that you are in a more natural place than the one you found around you. And also you have this introduction of a lot of colors in the train part, because it's really like a Pompeian discovery. You go underneath in the inside of the earth. And as they found Pompeii with the fantastic paintings in the inside of the lavic eruption of the volcano, we would like the people arriving here to find a sort of Pompeian fantasy in the train of the Stazione Centro Direzionale. Here we were during the construction with an artist and the client. And the artist wanted to propose a big face on this gigantic roof. And oh, fantastic, yes, we will do these faces looking like these incredible statues that you have in the archaeological museum, which were found underneath the lava in Pompeii. And but then they said it was too expensive. Then we introduced another artist who is French, Adrien Vescovi, doing beautiful fabrics and beautiful abstract drawings. And we were told that no more ceramic. Now we will have only plastic possibility. And Adrien Vescovi did a beautiful drawing with his plastic possibility. But then they told us, no, we are sorry, it's too expensive. I said, what is too expensive? It's plastic. No, too expensive. Then we went back to the first one and they say, he will paint it by hand. Oh, yes, fantastic. We studied it, I don't know, something like 1 year. And then they said, oh, we are sorry, the plastic is not standing any other thing on top. So now there is a plastic roof and it's open without us, but okay, you have to be ready to many adventures if you enter into this profession of architecture. But luckily we had these beautiful works, which where you lose a lot of money, I have to tell you, but they are fantastic because they really make you feel that you are doing something for the desire of creating a space which is incredible, which is special. This is a church. So a church is a space where you should feel in a special mood. When you enter there, you have to feel like connecting with yourself. Maybe you're not religious, but you have to have a special feeling anyway. So it's in a beautiful city in Italy, Ferrara. Very special one, is magic because it's not Venice, it's not Bologna. It's something special, unique. People goes by bicycle, it's quite small. This church had to grow in a place which was the periphery, 5 minutes away from the center, but the periphery of the city of Ferrara. And we started to work with this collage that it's our way of starting a project. We like very much to use what we find in the surroundings, but not only what we find in the site, but also what we desire for the site. And for example, after making many collages with the earth and the architecture of Ferrara, we started to make a collage with something which was in the sky of Ferrara, like the globes. And we thought that it was a very beautiful idea to have the possibility for a church to be like a globe arriving on the earth. And bringing you some special characteristic of the sky. So we started to work with collage, three-dimensional little models like collage. And I like very much that we were very, very literal about translating this into the real architecture. So that I like very much when I look back to this collage to see that the construction of it was so the same, so very much the same. And the first sketches are really corresponding to what the reality at the end was, with a church here and the house of the priest here and classes here and the old little building which was enlarged here. And this is a beautiful story. I don't know if I can explain you very, very in detail, but it was a long story done with many people, the artist who was with us since the beginning, Enzo Cucchi, the priests and the liturgist, which is a special figure, someone who knows about rituals and explain to artists how to introduce rituals in a space, both with visual arts or with architecture. So it was really a fantastic trip together with these beautiful minds, beautiful spirits. And Enzo Cucchi, since the beginning, really wanted, this is the son of Enzo, Alessandro, the only one who can handle him. And Enzo, since the beginning, wanted black ceramic to happen here. And this was very complicated because the priests in Rome, they were afraid, black ceramic, isn't it a devilish thing? But at the end, the liturgist was so clever in order to transform everything into a kind of a liturgy. All these drawings of him, the Christian mystery, the incarnation. Of course, the artist was not really thinking about that. But if you explain it, then maybe he understands it's something like that. No, it makes the Bible or the scripts become more alive. And it was very, very beautiful to be together with them. This is the liturgist. You see a fat man who adores eating this pasta, ravioli, tortellini all the time with him. And Enzo Cucchi, who is the artist, who eats nothing, and my collaborator, Joanne. And we were talking with it about how do we make the altar? Can the altar be something like an olive trunk? Or how do you make the seats? Can we make the seats something like carved in a trunk also? And then when we had to do something like looking like a carved trunk, we had to invent how to make it, no? Because you cannot really take a trunk and carve it. So we were kind of laminating more pieces and started to invent all the liturgical pieces inside the church. So the door was one of the liturgical pieces. It can open in many different ways. And then you enter, and it was very important for us to have this roof, a wood roof, which is an acoustic roof, which creates this sort of a feeling of coziness. And also the stones on the floor is a kind of a warm stone. And it goes together with the rough walls, which we didn't touch at all. And on the rough walls, these big crosses with the ceramic by Enzo Cucchi, the black ceramic, with these drawings representing parts of the liturgy. So I think this was the moment when we open it, and we have these lamps, also wooden lamps designed by us, and we found objects. This is a beautiful one, a Madonna. But also here there are some other objects which were coming from the old little church that was there. And we, at the end, instead of an olive tree, we put a stone, but a kind of a very unfinished stone. And instead of the typical Madonna and Christ on the back of the altar, Enzo Cucchi put this Roman cross. Let's say it's an old symbol of the beginning of the Christian meetings, and all these ceramic pieces, which are like the stars, the planets, the saints, everything which can happen behind. So he was always telling me, where do you find an artist with so little ego like me, who instead of putting here the masterpiece, renounce and put a cross, only a symbol. So I think it's a very beautiful travel together, very beautiful discoveries, to together creating this kind of space, which at the end has to build up a sort of a spiritual feeling, and it makes a sort of home, really. It makes a sort of space where you can feel like home, like finding yourself, like really having a special set of mind. This is one of the last decisions by Cucchi. The remains of the stones used for the big crosses were used to make small crosses. And this is ceramic Roman numbers indicating the Via Crucis, which has different stations. This also was a present from my father, who had it in the garden since many years before. And because we finished the money, we didn't have more money for buying pieces. The pieces were given. So I think it's really very much nice. And the lamps made a kind of a miracle, which happens many times when you do some architecture with faith. And here are some angels appearing from the reflection of these lamps that we designed for that. So the photographer was very happy to make photographs of the many angels appearing in by chance inside the church. And we have not many photos of the outside because the photographer went when it was not finished yet. But it's a very strange piece in the landscape, a little relating with the rural world, a little strange, like something coming from the sky, and now is starting to be used and starting to make its function, which is the function of putting the community together and making the community work and have a place to meet. Now we have so many images, and this is about ephemeral, so we can go fast and see these ephemeral works. I like very much ephemeral works. They are very important because you do them in 4 months, 5 months. Now we are building something for the Biennale, which is something that we do very often. This was for the Salone, it was Design Week in Milan. And you're making here kind of experiments that then you can apply in other places. This pavilion was reused, which is something that we think is very important now. Reuse is a very important word. So this was brought from the fair to the real place in Barcelona. And these were, also we go fast, some exhibitions we did in honor of Enrique, 20 years after his death. No, it's a mistake. And this is something we did for Merce Cunningham. I actually put it here because it was one of the few projects we did in the United States for the Brooklyn Academy of Music in 2009. And Merce Cunningham, who you see here, was nearly 90. And he wanted this piece to happen on the day of his 90th birthday. And so he called this nearly 90 because he was not sure that he will arrive to his 90th birthday. And so the piece was nearly 90 minutes. And something like 8 musicians had to be on stage and had to be there while the thing was rotating together with the dancers. So it was a real crowd on the stage, and we made it even more complicated by making shadows and the thing appearing, disappearing, and actually we have very good artisans, I told you, no? So we could build it in Barcelona and then ship it, and it was less expensive than building it here. So this was something that I want to remember, and it was very, very lovely to have this experience. So here you see the piece in the Brooklyn Academy of Music with the musician already inside. There was a sonic youth, John Paul Jones, which is the Led Zeppelin guitar. Here he is. And it was incredible. They could stay here like in a little house, and then the dancers could dance around while the thing was rotating. And then at a certain moment, one part was coming down and one of the dancers was dancing on top of it. So this was one of the many experiences with ephemeral, which was not very ephemeral. And here is a moment where we are taking the occasions of the ephemeral to do more things. No, before in Paris we did this seminar with the women, and here we did a kind of a beautiful mural with the students of a school in order to exhibit the furniture which are in our house. I told you before that they are all movable, but they were never exhibited because they are in our home. So we had this exhibition where they were reproduced, and we had the possibility to show the mechanism of movement and the fact that we liked very much these movements. The exhibition Miralles was featuring 5 exhibitions. So I go very fast because this would be a chapter in itself. And we have another project that I would like you to explain in detail. Other shop in Milan, which you should go and visit when you go to Milan, is ceramic shop, but it's in fact with a lot of wood and using ceramic in a sort of collage way. It's a Ragno. And I think we just finished with this project, which is, as you can see in Barcelona, this is Sagrada Familia. And 100 years ago, they were building here a big hospital. And the big hospital was paid by a donor who was called Pau Gil. You can see him here. And he wanted this hospital to be the hospital for the poor. But you see that there is nothing poor in the architecture. In fact, he wanted the best architect of his time and very ornate, Domenico Montaner, to design it. And he asked Domenico Montaner especially to do it fantastic, beautiful, and do gardens in between the pavilions, because he wanted this place to be a place to make people happy when they come inside. And this same idea had this lady, Maggie Keswick, the wife of Charles Jenks. And when she got a cancer, she realized that the hospitals were not very nice places to stay. So she started to think together with Charles Jenks, why don't we make little architecture, little places next to hospitals, which can be like a place where to feel at home, you know, where the patients can come in and make a cup of tea. So they can feel that they finally are complete persons there, and the place is responding to them and they belong to the place. So they started this program, and if you've seen Foster, Rogers, Zaha, OMA, a lot of architects did this exercise for making a home place next to a hospital, a Maggie Center. And we were called by a group of patients, of women who were going through breast cancer, to position a Maggie Center, but not in UK, in Barcelona. And then Maggie said, okay, we will support the initiative, but it has to be a different name, a different foundation. So now the foundation is called Calida. It's very near to the Maggie Foundation. And we were so lucky to design this first building. And so we got inspiration from the Domenico Montaner fantastic architecture. So we made a lot of collage. And now this collage actually is traveling to the Maxi in Rome. And a lot of models, which were kind of, experiments before even having a land, even having the money to build it. We didn't know if this would go on. But it was very important to promote this and say, yes, there can be a beautiful architecture here, which is mixed with the landscape, where the courtyards and the building are kind of mixed together, mingled. And one day we really had the foundation arriving, the money arriving, and a place which was next to the new hospital and behind the old hospital by Domenico Montaner. So this, for us, was a kind of a pavilion, an extension of the Domenico Montaner building, making the people coming from the oncological side of the hospital feel better. So we design it in a way that you don't look at the hospital, which is here. You look and open up towards the gardens, and you look at the beautiful old hospital of Domenico Montaner. And it's a small building compared to all the rest. But you see that it also does a lot of work, because you have a garden on this level, but also you have a garden on the other level, actually not accessible, but which makes you feel that you are surrounded by garden, even here in this hospital surrounding. So this is kind of renaturalizing, again, this space, which was very very much in the middle, you know, ambulances were coming, the garbage was there, and now that the building is there, is organizing the space around it. And we were designing it with, we had many years, like in with the church or like with public spaces that I've explained. And we wanted this building to be very familiar, somewhere where you go and you feel in contact with the garden, in more calm, more in your space, in a cozy space. And we started construction with a lot of difficulties because the company broke, and then we had to change company. But anyway, this is a humble construction. For example, we did a roof with colors, but you see that these are very standard pieces. It's not Santa Caterina. Is very standard in order to make this green roof being visible from the hospital. And this sort of modernistic fantasy is done only with very normal bricks used in this way, which is usually used in the countryside in all Catalonia. So only one color is applied, and it's a simple color, only white, and then is the color of the bricks itself. So that little by little, this building was growing and was providing these openings which were letting the light come in, but was also maintaining a sort of privacy, because most of the time you look through this holes and people cannot look at you. You can see, but you are not seen. And the garden, this is little by little. Now it's even more than that. It's very, very, very wild with a lot of vegetation. It's very important, and it's really therapeutical, like the building itself. So from this moment on, we discovered that architecture can be very therapeutical, can have an incredible power. And this building is really representing that, because on people with an illness where you feel kind of more fragile, you have everything has a stronger impact on you. And the fact that you find an architecture, a space which is caring for you, which is looking after you, that is making you feel better, it's so important. So this building made us understand that everything has to be thought like that. Now, when we design a station, when we design a university, a school, we try to do it with this idea in mind, no? Try to make a space where people feel at home. So this was our discovery, and this is what now we are working with the students in Yale. And it's the theme I'd like to develop more and more, not only in this Maggie Center called Calida, but also in other buildings. This was the day of the opening. You see the vegetation was not there. Patrizia Urquiola helped us with the inside, the client, and Valentina and Joan from the studio. And now it's like that, and providing a lot of care for many, many people. So thank you very much.
Moderate a few questions.
I don't know if it's going to be easier to send things from Spain or cheaper anymore with these new tariffs. Let's consider about it. But I wanted to discuss a few things with you and then maybe open the discussion. I'm sorry, yes. One of these,
Do we
maybe?
need it? Yeah.
Maybe they work.
I think. I'm sure there are some.
We'll find it. We'll find it.
Let's try. This we don't know how it works.
Or we can share my copy.
I think so. Oh, this one.
Yes. Or this one. Let's try and see. Good. I always remember our discussions, to be honest, and when some of the common themes that they keep coming from your work is the level of sensitivity you have around the people negotiating, creating, fabricating your architecture. I remember we had a discussion about the Expo Pavilion, and you were discussing for the workers that they were doing all this weaving of the different panels made out of bamboo, and how important that was for you of creating a community, an architecture that is not created by the master architect, but it's also created from the workers, that they realize whatever conceptual projects you are creating. And going back to our students here and a little bit in the discussion and the work that you've been doing, which is very much experimental with a lot of uncertainty sometimes. Another comment you made at some point about the Santa Caterina columns, which you were not sure if they're going to be able to withstand. Thank you so much, Tuxi. Not withstand the weight of the canopy, and so you added maybe one or two more.
We didn't trust the structural engineer.
Right. And so the discussion was, how do you surpass the uncertainties of all these things that you don't know in architecture and makes you feel a little bit more secure, and how this new generation of designers that we are trying to educate here, they can live in this uncertainty and keep trying and keep pushing the boundary and create an architecture that is going to be beneficial for the future generations as you do.
Thank you, Andrea. Fantastic. We see this question. I don't know. Sometimes you feel that you are not doing very well. Actually, I remember I talked with Shelley and the Grafton architects when they were receiving the Pritzker Prize, and they were explaining, we are doing a new competition. There's always a moment during the competition where you feel, I'm such a bad So this is good, no? This is someone who is really recognized at the peak of the career. You always have doubts, and you have to try. But you have to believe in yourself. Have to believe in the tools that you have, because we have fantastic tools. We have drawings, we have models, we have possibilities of understanding things beforehand. And then you have to be very stubborn. I think it's a very important thing to be stubborn.
I would agree with you. It's one of the most important things to keep pushing, even when things don't seem to work or if they don't seem to be going your way. As we were describing in several projects, keep pushing the boundary and see how you can reach your final goal. And the other thing that it's very impressive to me to see your work still in the office is that although you probably have the capability of using the newest tools and all the digital fabrication and parametric design and all that, you're still working with a lot of traditional kind of, I don't want to use a derogatory term, but old school tools that we have, like sketching and collaging and making models, physical models, not 3D printed models.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe describe a little bit the value of this kind of work for the students? Because sometimes they feel that they need to exercise only or elaborate or develop their work based on the newest tools. Somehow like the old ways have lost their value. But in your case, it seems that everything is still apparent there.
It's not easy to maintain the hands in our profession, because of course the digital tools are fantastic. We never rejected them. I'm a kind of a personal analphabet in that, because they are going so fast, and you always need someone who is more expert in the digital tools. But the hand is fantastic. So we invented every way to maintain some hand products in our office. So for example, we keep this model making, and the model making in the office is there. It's not in the ground floor, it's not separated. It's there because we all go there. We all go there and we move things with hands, and we say, oh, well, it could be here, it could be there. What do? We make experiments, and it's so important, because at the end, what we do is something built. We don't do a virtual thing, maybe sometimes, but the aim is to arrive to the physical world. So I believe this is a kind of a wonderful comparison. And also using the collage, it's fantastic, no? Because you have this hand working, and I think the connection with the mind and the hand is very deep, very strong. So whenever you do a collage, thinking about the possibility of making a future project, your unconscious is working. And then you look at the results, and you can always find something to follow, some idea, you know? Because, so we believe in that, and we try to maintain it.
And maybe a last comment before we open the questions to our students here in the audience. You are working now into this new thing that you are describing as a therapeutic architecture. Do you evaluate the results somehow? Do you take measurements? Do you make questionnaires for the inhabitants after they live in the space for a little bit longer? Or how does it work for you? What's the next steps? I'm really looking forward. The reality is that we also have a master's program here that is very much related to these kind of subjects.
Yeah.
And a huge school of similar kind of subjects inside the university. And I was wondering how you are thinking that the future might be developed around these kind of things.
Well, I believe this is something that only keeping in mind is already acting, already having this idea that you would like to make a more human architecture and something which is more responding to the place, to the people. It's already very much, no? Because this could be a subject which you just don't consider. And how to do it, I'm not sure. No, we do it in different ways every time. No? Sometimes we have the opportunity, like in France, to do this workshop together with the people. We try to do this kind of thing many times, but it's not so easy all the time. And we try to also to look at the place and to understand how people live and to make collage about found situations. So I think there are many different possibilities, and mainly also to test yourself. You know, if you like the place, that if you would think that this is kind of soothing or caring, and we are trying our best in this sense. But I think it's a chapter which is open. You know, it's in the sense that you have here the university and you have the possibility to work on that. Maybe it could be more scientific than what my intuition is telling me. You know? So maybe we can do really research in that field, also in university, and understanding more and more. I don't say we will have a method, but at least more understanding on that. So I hope that in the near future we will know more about to make an architecture which is responding to the complete human being.
Great answer. And I don't want to monopolize the discussion here, but the microphone is all yours because some of our students might have a question or some of our faculty here that they would like to address to our guest. Yes, please.
I was going to say, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I just have a question here. Now, I understand that you worked on several projects in Spain. And as you mentioned, funding plays a very crucial role in the design process. Now, as you probably know, Spain suffered a very significant financial crisis between 2008 and 2014. Now, did that by any chance have any impact on your work when you were in Spain? Or were there any financial challenges that you may have faced during your career in any other countries, whether it be in Italy or whoever in Europe, that led you to use like alternative resources to complete your projects?
It's a very nice question. I don't know if you know Spain in specific, but yes, the effect of the crisis in 2008, 2009 was a disaster. And what the first effect was that all the private clients, in that moment we had, for the first time, because we used to have public clients, but we started to have a lot of private clients because everybody was into real estate in Spain. Everybody disappeared. And they were telling you, well, actually we can stop it for a little while, but we will come back. Then nobody came back. And it was very, very difficult. And then a lot of, this kind of houses, unfinished houses in the countryside and in Spain. It was, and also there was this kind of effect that you have maybe noticed. Many good Spanish architects went in other places. So, for example, here in American universities, a lot of Spanish good architects arrived because there was no work in Spain. And well, I think in that time we were already in China because in 2008 we opened the Spain Pavilion and we had a kind of a help, and also an Italian, and in France we made competitions, in Germany. So we didn't notice very much, but something interesting happened in Spain because of the crisis. And it's a sort of architecture which is very looking poor, let's say. And it's also kind of poor, sometimes is made with new ways. That's, for example, not a normal studio, but a cooperative. So that people is working in community. There's no boss. It's everybody is the boss of the company, and this is leading to very interesting architecture, very interesting experiments, and I like it very much. I like to introduce that in our architecture, and we have done something like that in the past with this home called La Clota, which is using these bricks as if they were in the wrong direction, and I don't know. I think this is a very good trend now, which will bring architecture in Spain to be very powerful again.
Any other questions from the audience? Pablo?
Hi, thank you, Benedetta, for sharing your amazing work in office with us, and thank you for being here. What I always got interested in your practice is this honesty that I think is related to what you were just saying about the use of the materials. And it's also in the system of representation, because sometimes you mix the floor plan and the section, and that becomes generative of the form, right? So there is an engagement at the drawing level with the system of representation, and then in the construction, there is an engagement with the system of construction as part of the logic to generate the form. And I like that honesty. I just wonder, in relationship to what Andreas was trying to raise relative to the technologies of fabrication. And I think a lot of us are trying to engage with the honesty of the technology in terms of activating a unique sort of language, right? How do you deal with that serendipity? Because you are open to anything that can happen in the site, but then you recognize, the budget, the things change, right? And I like that honesty in a way, because it becomes part of the logic of how architecture works. But how do you deal with that? I mean, it's very stressful at the same time, right? Not knowing how the building is going to look like, but opening to the system, right? To the processes.
Yeah. Maybe it's very stressful, but it's the only thing we can do. And we are. You say you're very honest. You were saying, yes, because we are like that, And I know that we could produce a different type of architecture, but it's very difficult because we have a personality, a way of being, a habit, and we like to do something maybe in this sort of more uncertain way. Of course, it was uncertain when we did the Spain Pavilion in Shanghai. We were telling to the state, it was Spain, we were representing Spain, and we were telling them, it will be fantastic, we'll do done with wicker. We have never done a building in wicker in our life. And really, I was not sleeping in the night. But then you make a lot of tries, because you are adapting and you make a lot of tries. And at the end, the building is responding to what you're trying. I think so. No? We have to believe that. Now, for example, this ephemeral pavilions or things that we are doing very often because we love to participate to Salone, to these exhibitions and to La Biennale. They are very good moments where you can find this experimental moment. It's not so risky as in a building, and it's something that you can do. And this is developing a sort of an experience. And now, for example, I talk about it because we are doing a pavilion in La Biennale, which should be open on the 10th of May.
Which one?
Don't tell me.
I have the same issue, that's why I know.
So we are not sure about the production yet. We are not sure. And I have to tell everybody, don't worry, no problem. I phone from Yale, no problem. Okay, no, speak with this and that. But we are hysterical, of course. But you develop. You develop this capacity and dealing with the budget and trying to stay in and trying to maintain your idea, but finding the best builder, and it's a very good exercise, and we hope we will succeed.
Yes.
Benedetta, thank you very much for this really amazing lecture. It was a delight to see all these projects. I'm not sure if it's a question or rather a comment, but I'm curious what you would say about this, which is, it was a brief conversation about the digital tools used in your office, and then on the other side, if you look at the finished products, there's like this strong relationship to a form of archaeology, whether this is historical or material or the way the technique used, for example, that is a traditional technique, for example. How do you combine? How is this collision? Is this collision of importance to you in the office, like this sort of relationship, or conversation, or discussion, or friction, if you want, between this historical dimension of the work you're doing and at the same time using some of these advances in digital?
It is very important, this relation with what exists and what is around. In a way, we, as you know, maybe we were doing a lot of master plans, site plans. This was, when we had a project, we started to make a site plan before knowing the project at all. So you start to know what is surrounding, you start to know what is your archaeology. Actually, you always have an archaeology, you always have a space, you always have something. And finding the equilibrium between what exists and what you're transforming with your action is, I think, is the point of everything. And I think it's also nice not to know every time if you will be successful in that or not, but we're trying.
You are doing more than trying.
Let's see what happens in La Biennale. I mean,
No, let's not discuss it now.
let's not discuss it now.
Giovanni?
So in watching your presentation and also I've been lucky to move into some of the spaces that you have designed. There is almost like this dimension of bringing to the pages of the martial art space. Textures, colors, contrast, and the predictability, they are part of the design, they are the structure of the design. And for some, it's not my question, it's more a feeling of how relevant is that component, the kind of domesticity of the experiences and feeling of the space, more than structural and design and kind of hyperbolic, formal resolution. It's been the small details and how details get together with other things that are in contrast, apparently in contrast, but for some reason we are able to put together in an harmonious way. And that's something I think is an ability that is to the small scale, from the small scale to the big one. And at the same time, the capability of talking to the group of people, but simultaneously you're talking to each individual. So by walking those ways, and personally and with my students, I felt that the architecture were talking different things, saying different things to each one of us, even though we were having an experience at the same time all together. So that's the quality that architecture with the A, capital A has. And thank you for letting us and people experience your building, feeling those kind of emotions.
Fantastic. Thank you for this comment. Very, very nice.
If there are no any other very urgent questions, we can conclude for tonight. Thank you all so much for attending our.
There's food outside.
Derek came in. It was nice.
They didn't take care of it? Okay.
Oh my gosh, were you thinking?
Yes. That's fine.
So funny. Oh, she did really good.
Good.
Yeah. All right, that's a wrap. Let's stop sharing. Cool. Cool.
Okay, no, I